I'm Chris from Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D., a show taking a look at the greater Marvel Cinematic and television universes, part of the Gonna Geek Network, just like the show you're checking out now. Shows on the network are individually owned, and the opinions expressed may not reflect others. Find other marvelously geeky shows at GonnaGeekNetwork.com.
And welcome to Play Comics, where once again we're looking at a video game based on a comic property and how well it represents that source material. And today I am here trying to just grab life by the balls. We're jumping straight to that PG-13-ish part right up front, because today I am looking at Dragon Ball Z Budokai 2 with Russell Moran. Russell, how are you today?
I'm good. Chris, how are you?
I am so excited. We've had to reschedule this a few times. We're finally making it work. And anytime I can get somebody to help me jump into Dragon Ball, I feel like it's going to be a great time, because I also feel like I was a dummy for not having jumped on this when I was 12 years old.
It's one of my all-time favorite franchises, so I'm very happy to talk about it.
What was it that got you into this whole Dragon Ball world in the first place?
See, I'm trying to remember. I was a little bit younger than the average Dragon Ball watcher, I think. I remember being home from school with the chicken pox, and I was coloring in a coloring book, and I kept looking up at this TV and just saw Frieza beating the crap out of Vegeta and was instantly enamored with that. I was like, what is this weird thing that I'm watching? After that, I kind of like it kind of disappeared from my vision for a while until about the fourth grade when some friends got me back into it during the Majin Buu saga around the time this game was coming out, actually. Uh, so yeah, it's just something that's been a part of my life for so long. It was my first real introduction to anime. I mean, I had probably seen a little bit of Pokemon when I was younger, but Dragon Ball and Yu-Gi-Oh were kind of my gateway drugs into anime.
It sounds like you're a little bit younger than me then, but not enough to have a significantly different experience. Like, I can see myself doing the exact same thing, except I would have been probably playing with toys instead of coloring in a coloring book. So,
Yeah.
not a huge difference, but still, it's amazing how these things just kind of pop up randomly in our life and then just sit there dormant until it's time for them to completely take over. Because I know for me, I can remember like we'd be on the playground and like we'd play because it was a thing that we could play fight with and not get in too much trouble.
Yeah.
But we would always be making fun of, oh, it took them 3 weeks to throw a punch. And here's this
Yeah.
story going on and it's crazy. And what are you going to do with everything? But I mean, looking at the Dragon Ball franchise now, it's such a deep world, so many characters. Like, I hate that I have rediscovered it while doing the show because I have to spend so much time getting ready for each episode. I can't just really dive into the things that I feel like I would love now if I had the time.
Right. Yeah. It's a really unique. I think one of the reasons that it was so successful is that it was just so weird. Like it was unlike anything that we had seen at the time. And yeah, it does have its flaws, of course. I mean, famously Frieza says the planet's going to blow up in 5 minutes and it takes like 20 plus episodes for that to occur. So there's some pacing issues with the original version of Dragon Ball Z. You don't get that with the manga, I might add. And we are on Play Comics, so I thought I would just shout out the actual comic book. But yeah, it's just such it's weird that something so strange became such a cultural phenomenon.
Weird in all the right ways, though. You know, as you're looking at this, of course, I'm going to like giant green aliens and people becoming superheroes and just the strange characters that don't seem out of place here at all. Because, of course, you have a crazy old man. You also have a pig running around and essentially a couple giant marshmallows. Only
Hmm.
everything is weird, but put together, it just makes them seem so much less weird, which I think is good.
Yeah, it's really fun looking at the trajectory of the series where, the original manga, what we would know as Dragon Ball, is a kind of a pastiche of Journey to the West, the Monkey King story, but with a lot more perverted humor and gags, and it's a very mystical story. And then it slowly evolves. By the time we get to Dragon Ball Z, we're like, oh, Goku's an alien, and there's this evil space Hitler out there. Oh, and once we beat him, there's these androids from the future that are going to destroy the world. Oh, and after that, a giant pink demon has come out of an egg, and he's going to destroy the world. It's just, it's funny how different the later Dragon Ball Z is from where the series began.
And looking at things now, you know, I think it's really cool that you have something that gets so caught up with the manga that it has to stretch things out like that. You know, I think I'd rather have filler episodes than just giant breaks to build up a manga backlog to work from.
Yeah. I don't know about you, Chris, but like I've always wondered if American comics would ever try to attempt something like this. Like it's very common for there to be a manga and an anime, at the same time pretty much. Like you said, eventually the manga almost catches up to the anime. But like I think that would just be unheard of if there was a Spider-Man comic going on at the same time and it was being adapted in real time. I don't think Americans would go for that, but it's amazing that that's just how it is with Japanese properties.
Yeah, something like Spider-Man or Batman, you know, you get an established character, then maybe you could do it because you can kind of make a good guess on where things are going to go. Maybe have them kind of created at the same time. So even if you don't have the cartoon or the comic made, you at least know the story of what's going to happen.
Yeah,
Anything new? I don't think there's any chance.
yeah, right. I mean, I'm just thinking like even like something like Invincible, the comic was over well before the show started. So it's really strange. I it's there's nothing like the manga anime kind of ratio. Nothing compares to it.
Yeah, you could maybe do something. I guess maybe Invincible could work if they wanted to make more comic, because then you could go and. I mean, it would have to be something though where you're taking years between seasons of the show.
It's funny is like the Spawn animated series on HBO was kind of I mean it was, of course, the comics were well ahead of it by the time it was airing, but it was kind of contemporary with the comics, but it ended up being better than the comics. That HBO series is actually, I think, much better than the actual Spawn comics, but that's just me.
Spawn comics get weird though in different but also sometimes all the right ways, and then also some really weird bizarre ways which you can hear more about on Spawnography because they know a lot more about that than I do.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess you could do something like that where you can take side stories and do it and get into the whole side story thing like you get with some of the mech things.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Can totally see that working a little bit better.
But jumping back into the Dragon Ball world of things, even here in this game, you've got so many characters. That's one thing that I've really come to love about the Dragon Ball games is that they're either, at least from what I've seen so far here on the show, it's either we're going to super hyper focus on this one character and follow them, and it's going to be as accurate as something will let it be for whatever the game is, or hey, here's a fighter, people fight. But having all these characters in here, you get to explore so many little storylines with stuff, get to meet so many people or re-meet so many people if you've actually watched the show or read the manga beforehand. And everything in here, I mean, there aren't really any bad characters, I think. There are some that are better than others, but everybody's has their weight of being pretty cool.
Yeah, I think it's one of the most balanced cast of characters really ever, because everyone has their moments. Everyone has time to shine. Of course, some characters get to shine a lot more than others, like Goku and Vegeta, of course. But yeah, I just think that it's really interesting how these characters, they're all lovable in their own way. Even the bad guys have their own kind of personality and flavor to them, that even though they're these abhorrent creatures, they are lovable. And I think that's the testament of a really good series, is that you love all the characters, even the ones you're supposed to hate.
Well, even the ones that I hate, I just hate them because I know that I'm supposed to be rooting for the good guys and they're the bad guys. But I could really easily see this be a story that's more centered on their point of view, and then all of a sudden, everybody's sides are switched.
A really interesting dynamic. Akira Toriyama, he knew what he was doing.
You can see it in the writing here. You can see it in the art that you see in this series and other series that I know people love. This one little game called, oh gosh, what was it? Chrono Trigger, that
Oh yeah.
people might have heard of.
Yeah. Chrono Trigger is a masterpiece as well. And he also did the art for Dragon Quest. So he's got a lot of gaming under his belt as well.
But we're going to try to figure out if there was any kind of game that he couldn't do good art for. Well, I dropped some promos for a few other things.
Video games are a unique medium.
They can tell stories,
Immerse us in strange, fantastic worlds.
blur the very boundaries of our reality.
But at the end of the day, video games are fun, whatever fun is to you.
I'm Jeff Moonen,
And I am Matt, aka Stormageddon.
and on Fun and Games, we talk about the history, trends, and community of video games.
It's a celebration of all the games we play and all the fun we find within them.
And there's so many more games out there, so we hope you'll share in that conversation with us.
Fun and Games podcast with Matt and Jeff. Find us on certainpov.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
And happy gaming.
Howdy, y'all. My name is Dave, and I would like to welcome you to the Anime Field Guide, the monthly podcast where I review anime with friends and fellow fans, as well as talk about the fine folks who make it all possible. I also discuss the history of anime production houses across Japan. If I have your interest, you can find me on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all the major platforms. Follow my links through Linktree, linktr.ee/ANI Field Guide. I hope to see you there.
Those are some great things to check out, but first let's finish up here. So, Russ, what we're here today, though, specifically to talk about is this 2003 game, Dragon Ball Z Budokai 2. I am not sure if I said it right, but I said it confidently, and so that's what I'm going to roll with, because that's how it is tattooed onto my tongue, and it's the only way I will ever get it to come out.
That's fair. I think with most Dragon Ball things, it's it's hard to break the how to pronounce it, and I don't know how to pronounce half the things correctly. It doesn't help that what we saw growing up, the English dub on Toonami, they changed some of the names to make them work better phonetically. For instance, Krillin is actually spelled out as like Kuririn. So I think Krillin's a lot easier to say, but is it accurate? Not really. Yeah, it's just one of those things that translation, they were like, we need something for our English children to say easier.
Yay for that. I am all for people keeping things in whatever language that they had it in, but making it accessible for the audience you're trying to share it with is also a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
This game came out on the GameCube and PS2, made by Dimps and published over here by Atari. What you've got is basically a continuation of the story from Budokai 1, goes a little further into what's going on in Dragon Ball Z, but does it just a little bit differently.
Pretty drastically differently, actually. I think this game is kind of the black sheep of the family. If you talk to a lot of people, it's a very divisive game in the Budokai trilogy, and so much so that it was left out of the HD collection that came out for the PS3 and the Xbox 360.
Which is crazy for me, because I would think that if you have something that's like that different, you're not sure if it's going to work, you can throw it on the HD collection and it's not like anybody is going to like hate you for including it. It's not like you have to
Right.
leave anything else off.
Exactly. It was always weird to me that it was left out. Sure.
So normally in a game like this, in a lot of the anime manga based games, if you're going to have a storyline, it is either, hey, look, here's a tournament, everybody go fight, or like what you had with the first Budokai game and what you'll get with ones after this, where, hi, here's the story that you know, play the story. We might mix up where some characters are a little bit just because it's a game, might change the story around a tiny bit just because it's a game, but basically you're playing the story you already know. This one says, yeah, there's a story, we think, whatever. Here are some plot points. Connect the dots however you want.
It's really, it's kind of a crazy thing to just get exposed to. I remember back at playing this as a kid, I was really confused about how this game's story mode is laid out. But I would assume that they did this because the first game's story mode was so accurate. Like the cutscenes for that game just perfectly told the story of Dragon Ball Z up to the end of the Cell arc. Whereas this game decides, hey, we're going to kind of switch things up and make it a board game.
See, when you say it like that, it sounds really horrible. And maybe this is because I'm not the huge Dragon Ball Z fan that some people are who are looking at this. I think it's kind of cool that you can do things differently.
Mm-hmm.
I can also understand that if you're going in there expecting it to be super accurate, like the first one was, this is really going to throw off what you're seeing.
I think it has its pros and cons for sure. I think one of the biggest criticisms, and you kind of alluded to it earlier, is that most Dragon Ball games tell the same exact story. Raditz to Boo, over and over and over again. But this one does it a little differently. It's still technically Raditz to Boo, but there's no like elaborate cutscenes. It's in the form of a board game. And let's just say they throw in some things to spice it up a little differently, like Frieza showing up on Earth before everyone goes to Namek, or Frieza and Cell being with Super Boo at the end of the game. It's really interesting. It does make it kind of fun that they did something different. I have to appreciate that they did something different.
I like being able to go through this, and if I want it to be the exact story that I've been watching, I can do that. I can also make it a what if world and do all kinds of other different things, get some fusions that either didn't happen or didn't happen nearly as early as I'm making them happen. Kind of annoying that if I want to unlock certain characters, I need to go fight them when I am not really ready to fight them, because the unlocking system is, hey, beat this guy, but beat him the last time that he's going to be beaten on this board game with a certain character. That part gets a little cumbersome.
Yeah, I remember these games, all of them really, especially the second and third one. They got really cryptic, almost Mortal Kombat levels of cryptic on how to unlock characters. And I remember my friends and I had a lot of fun trying to figure it out, trying to figure out how to unlock this character and that character, and trying to find all the Dragon Balls in the board game. And it's, I think the more I think about it, the more I appreciate it.
I'll bet that a lot of people are having that same experience with it, because if you came in there, it's almost like when people are making movies now, it's like you're asking for something new. You want something that you haven't seen 5 million times before. You want it to be familiar, but you don't want to be sold Madden 2005 part 20, you know? You just,
Yeah.
you want to get your thing, and you get your thing that's different, and then you get mad at the people making it because they made something different.
No one is ever happy, as we have come to learn. No one, everyone, there's always someone that's upset with something. And I can only imagine that people were just upset that it wasn't. I'm sure they wanted to see those same elaborate, beautiful CG cutscenes for the Majin Buu arc. But at the same time, this game isn't just the Majin Buu arc. It's everything all over again. So I understand the criticism of it, and I do think it's a little weird in its execution, but it's fun. It's a fun idea. If not a little tedious at times, but yeah, I think Dragon Ball Z Budokai 3 kind of took the best of both worlds, in that its story mode is, it's still the same story mode, but there's like a free roaming element to it, and there's what if side stories to it. So I think, I mean, 3 is generally regarded as the best of the trilogy for a reason, but we wouldn't have got there without 2.
I mean, you've got the introduction of the fusion stuff the way it is. You get those little, those little QuickTime events that are going on in there. You know, yeah, I know it's a game. These cutscenes are good though, but if I wanted to just watch an episode of Dragon Ball and all those cutscenes, I would go watch an episode of Dragon Ball. You know, there's a reason
Right.
why I'm popping in the game instead.
Exactly. I think I appreciated Budokai 1 more as a kid because we didn't really have access to the show like we do now. Like, if I want to watch Dragon Ball, I can either, go to my streaming service, or I can pull out my DVD or my Blu-ray and watch it. Back in the day, we had like VHS tapes that were expensive and hard to find in some places. So I think the game was much more appreciated back then for telling the story. But now, in hindsight, yeah, you could just watch the show.
I mean, even when this game came out in 2003, for me, that is right in the middle of high school, I would have relatively consistent access to Dragon Ball, but it was on somebody else's schedule.
Yeah.
Or dial-up internet, because I was one of those people. So I couldn't exactly go find it magically and watch it that way. So yeah, I get that, maybe the game is your way of seeing the story. And from that perspective, if I'm playing this one, I don't know how things are quote unquote supposed to happen necessarily. So I can come in here and make some crazy things that are maybe going to give me wrong ideas of what happens in the story of Dragon Ball Z.
I remember, so I was playing this, of course, leading up to this podcast, and I just remember being like bamboozled, like, because you get through, literally the first board of the game is Raditz and Nappa, and I'm like, well, wait a minute. Okay, first of all, those two did not arrive together. Where's Vegeta at? And it's just like, I have to turn that part of my brain off. Like, this is a game. It doesn't have to necessarily be perfect. They are more focused on it being a game than they are an accurate adaptation.
I think if this had been any other franchise, that would have been fine. But they had already set the precedent from like every other game that they had put out based on whatever flavor of Dragon Ball, that they were going to be pretty accurate. So to get something like this that didn't do that, that is a real big left turn.
Sure. Yeah.
That being said, it's really fun and it looks beautiful.
Oh yeah, it's such a big leap from the first game. The first game is kind of it has much of a more chunky kind of blocky, not blocky. When you think blocky, you think of like PS1 or whatever. But the cell shading that they introduced in this second game, at the time we were like, oh my god, this looks just like the show. Like it is so sleek and beautiful. Now, of course, we've gotten better since then, but it still looks really good.
Yeah, the art style that they used here ages beautifully. I mean, the first one, I'll go ahead and say it. I think it could have been a PS1 game with how it looked. It would be a real late PS1 game, something like Valkyrie Profile, where you can tell it's PS1, but it's still really pretty. This one, the only time you were seeing anything like that on a PS1 was cutscenes.
Yeah. It's really, I really wish this one would have gotten the HD treatment, because the HD versions of Budokai 1 and 3 are gorgeous, and it makes me it's just disappointing because yeah, you can say, well, 2 is the weird one, it has the board game, blah blah blah. There's stuff in this game that's not in any of the other games. Like you mentioned, the game exclusive fusions. Where else can we see Goku fused with Mr. Satan than Budokai 2? It's only in this game.
Just this game and our fever dreams, which both, I want to see both of them.
Yeah.
But the way this one, it plays well, it looks good, the story is good no matter what story you're getting. Whether it's accurate is a whole different issue, but if you're just looking at it from somebody who doesn't know the story of Dragon Ball, I think whatever story you're getting is going to be a good one. And I'm not even going to bother trying to count how many characters you get to play as, because it's way too many. Plus you get into the how many times you want to count Goku, because there's 5 different versions. But just the fact that they cram this many characters in there and make them all meaningful, I think is such a good touch.
Yeah. The roster is always going to be something that's going to be talked about with not just Dragon Ball games, but I think any fighting game, any anime game, people want more. I will say this roster with its amount of Gokus isn't as egregious as something like Dragon Ball Fighters, which has like no less than 10 different versions of Goku in the roster. And I think that's even more egregious because that is a traditional fighting game, whereas this is more of a kind of a this does not play like Street Fighter. This does not play like Mortal Kombat. This is kind of the precursor to what we would know as like the arena fighter, but still on a mostly kind of 2D, 3D plane. It's really, the roster's really good. I'm glad the characters that made it in. Of course, I could have went for more, but I mean, we've got plenty in here. It's, the third game starts to introduce the movie characters and GT characters and all sorts of stuff. But yeah, I think it's a really good roster. And you mentioned how it plays really well. I remember as a kid, we were so happy that they added just the ability to just do special moves with a touch of a button rather than having to combo into it every time, like in Budokai 1.
Yeah, maybe horrible for hardcore fighting game fans, taking away that bit of gameplay element. But for people that are like me and don't care that much, they're horrible at the fighting games, but they still love them. Being able to actually pull those moves off is great.
The attention to detail with the special moves, like especially the more cinematic ones, and how all the special moves are kind of their own mini games. Like you mentioned the quick time events. Of course, there's the mini game where you've got to rotate the analog sticks like it's Mario Party or something, which can get a little like tedious at times, but back in the day as kids, we thought that was so fun to do that.
And then on top of all of that awesome stuff, you throw in the RPG elements where you can kind of build these characters how you want to play. It's not a super set of moves that are decided on by the game developers, and that's what you're going to get. I mean, yeah, you've got to go buy moves and earn them other ways and stuff before you can pull them off. but you don't have to get through that stupid punch that you hate using just to get to the cool stuff. You can just buy the ones that you want and you're good.
And they even took that a step further. They went the Pokemon kind of route where you can trade skills between memory cards. That's just like, it's unheard of. It's insane. No other game really does that.
I'd completely forgotten about that, mostly because I have no really chance at being able to do it at all. But man, I got this move and I hate it, and somebody else thinks it's cool, and being able to give it to somebody who will use it. I mean, that requires you having friends, but as long as you have friends, then you're good.
Yeah.
I can see why everybody thinks this is the black sheep of the family. I think that this is more of the black sheep, but they're proud of being the black sheep instead of being ashamed of it. Because they're coming in here, they're doing their thing, they're doing it really well. And if you don't like it, okay, you can just play one of the other ones. But if you do like it, then this game is really, really good.
Yeah. I think the thing that really gives you the most bang for your buck playing this is the replay value. Like, you can't unlock every character with one playthrough of story mode, because you have to beat certain characters with certain characters. You have to collect the Dragon Balls. You have to do the, Bobbity spaceship thing to unlock characters. You're not going to unlock everybody in one setting, that's for sure.
As we start to wrap things up here, what do you think this one really gets right looking at Dragon Ball Z?
I think it gets right the personality of the characters and kind of the flashiness of the movement. Like, these characters move like they do in the anime. The cutscenes, the in-fight cutscenes are straight from the anime. And I also think that it really embraces kind of the goofy part of Dragon Ball. Like we mentioned, those wild fusions. Like, Dragon Ball, when it first started, was a comedy manga that eventually evolved into a fighting manga. But it's always had humor, and I think this game really gets that right with some of the wacky stuff that you can do.
That humor, I think, is the big thing for me. I want to say, making this show, it would be really easy to say that I was introduced to Dragon Ball like properly through the games. But we all know that's not true, because I grew up as a 90s kid, so I was introduced to Dragon Ball through the memes. So seeing that kind of energy, realizing that it is actual energy from the show and not just things that people on the internet attributed to it, and then also seeing that come through in the games here, like, it makes it feel worth having to wait for that dial-up internet to connect.
Yeah. Yeah. I know one of the big parts about this show is this an accurate adaptation of the comic? And I would say, story-wise, no. If you want the story, go to a different game. But for the look and the feel of Dragon Ball, I think it's right up there. 9 or 10 out of 10 for sure.
Would you say that that's the thing that this gets the most wrong looking at Dragon Ball Z?
Is the story? Or
yeah,
I think if you were a kid like me and you did appreciate Budokai 1 giving you that story that you didn't have access to, Budokai 2 is going to be a disappointment for you. And I won't necessarily say they did it wrong, but they did do it drastically differently. I think this is something you can appreciate much more if you're on either ends of the spectrum. You're either a casual fan and you don't really care about the story, or you're a hardcore fan that has seen that story so many times that you're just glad something different is happening.
I mean, I'll also say that I can't really think of anything else to talk about for what this really got wrong, which is a really good thing. So the fact that we have to harp on, oh no, they did the story differently, but in a way that could still have been real and in a different universe is the actual story that happened. Like, if that's your bad thing, you're doing pretty good.
Yeah. I think this game needs to be reevaluated. It can still be the black sheep, but I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing.
I probably don't really need to ask you this, but I'm going to anyway. But would you give somebody this game as part of a primer course for getting into Dragon Ball?
Yeah, I think I would. I think this is a fine. Again, I'm not harping on the story. It does tell you the basics of the story. So if you just want an introduction to Dragon Ball and its characters, I think this would be a great first game for you.
Well, I was completely wrong because I thought you were going to say that you wouldn't because everything could have happened and then you'll make the person confused.
No, I think if you're just getting into Dragon Ball, this is fine. You're going to get, it's basically the Dragon Ball for dummies almost. Do things happen slightly differently? Of course. But I think what's important is that okay, the three main arcs of this series are Frieza, Cell, Majin Buu, and that they are all present here, and it goes in that order. So I think it's fine. And then once you've beaten this game, you can move on to either watching the show or playing a different game and getting the full story. I think this is a nice primer for people.
Well, that's made me rethink my thoughts because my initial thought was no, because why would I want to introduce them to things that aren't accurate?
Yeah.
But now I'm thinking, yeah, maybe you could. But finally, if we wanted to look at this like it is a what if situation and we're just out in the world watching, which Muppets are going to be the commentators for what is going on in this crazy world?
So I have to say that I'm really bad with remembering Muppets' names. I did not really grow up with the Muppets, unfortunately. I love them, but I just haven't been exposed to them that much. I know more Sesame Street than I do Muppets. But
I'd leave it open-ended so you can use Sesame Street if you want.
Who do I want to commentate this game? I'm leaning towards the two old dudes from the Muppets, the kind of the grumpy old guys. That's who
Statler and
hear.
Waldorf, they are the best.
Yeah, that's who I want to talk about Dragon Ball.
I like that, but we always see them together, so I think we should add a third person to that booth, Oscar the Grouch.
Okay. Oh, all right. I'm in. I'm absolutely in.
Well, Russ, it has been great talking to you about all of this. If people want to hear more from you, where else can they find you around the internet?
You can find me at Kaiju ComicCast, the podcast dedicated to your favorite giant monsters in the medium of comics. I talk about Godzilla, Ultraman, King Kong, basically any kind of giant monster in comic book form. You can find me on Instagram or Blue Sky very easily with just searching Kaiju ComicCast.
And as always, we'll have links to all that stuff down in the show notes because clicking links is so much easier than trying to remember how to spell things, especially when it's kaiju, because for some reason I can never get that right. As always, the best place to find me is over on playcomics.com, where there's links to all the social media things, which is pretty much Blue Sky and Threads, because that's just where I have settled. And when I am settled, it is like being inside of a warm blanket on a cold day. I'm not getting up unless I have to go potty, in which case I have a good reason to get up. If you want to be on the show, then you can check out the list of things that I'm looking to get booked the soonest. The link for that is down in the show notes, and there are new things on there. They are actually on there. I have seen them. I put them there all by myself. Some of the new things that were there are now gone already. But if you want to grab one of the new things or realize that, hey, I actually do know about one of the old things, then let me know and we can make that happen. For the next episode, we're going to be looking at Justice League Heroes The Flash with Marilee O'Neal from Fear Coded. I'm really excited for this one. It is a fun game. Marilee is a fun person to have on the show, just great. And I need to find excuses to do more podcast things with her. Maybe possibly where I don't have to do the editing though. Hint, hint. If you want to help support the show, then you can be like Dan McMahon or Ono Lit Class and give the show money, because unfortunately it does cost money to make a podcast. There's hosting fees and all that stuff, but I would be doing it anyway. So if all you can do is share with other people and tell them about it and stuff, then do that. And that's great. And that's greatly appreciated. And, go leave reviews on all of the review leaving places like Apple Podcasts and Podcatcher and wherever else there is this week. I don't know. Everybody's always trying to make the IMDb of podcasts and it just doesn't work. But leave reviews there anyway, and then show me those reviews and make me feel really happy about myself. Don't forget that Play Comics is a part of the GonnaGeek.com network, home to other such wonderful shows as Capes on the Couch, where if they don't hurry up and come back, I'm going to look really stupid for keep saying to go listen to them, but they're really good. So there's a lot of backlog if you haven't listened to everything yet. You will have a good time. Just go listen to them. It's great. Speaking of things that need to come out more often, if you want to hear Carrington Martin and I talk about all those lessons we learned from children's media and how, we were kind of taught to take those lessons to heart and live them out in our lives, and then all of a sudden we're not supposed to be doing that anymore, what's up with that? You need to go check out Sugar Spite and Everything is Fine. There's links to that down in the show notes as well. If you like the music that I'm rudely talking on top of right now, head on over to backandtrack.gg and check out all the great music over there, and maybe find something for your own project. But most of all, just grab a game, grab a stack of comics, and go find yourself a new favorite character. And as always, okay, good. I remember to make my phone not make noise. As always, the best place to find me is over on playcomics.com, where there's links to all the social media things, which is pretty much I don't know where things are anymore.